Charger is a unique, one-of-a-kind modern masterpiece, combining beauty, performance, and sheer luxury in one spirited machine. And that's why Charger will continue to be the most beautiful and the most wanted car of 1969.
All right, guys, we are here today to walk through our fourth Charger. This is RM21. This will be the fourth Charger we've given away. This will be the third 69. We've also done a 70. And this one has a lot of characteristics that make it super unique. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
We bought this car, what, 6 months ago?
Yep.
And it was this, I call it forest green. And we were talking about repainting it, talking about different things, and the green has really grown on me.
Yeah, and I think everybody, it was just really, as soon as we saw it in person, we were like, man, I don't think we can paint this car. It's just too good.
It looks really cool. I think it's a great color. Obviously, the 69 Charger is such an iconic shape that it's gonna look good in pretty much any color.
Yeah.
But I think this green really kind of sets it apart, makes it a very unique ride. So this is a 69. It's got that signature 69 grille with the Hideaway headlights, chrome bumpers. This thing is very original looking.
Yeah. Yeah, we found you guys a really good one. We bought this car, like you said, probably about 6 months ago, and it was a really nice, clean car. This thing has undergone a full rotisserie restoration. So the underside of this car is just as nice as the top, but it's got a lot of good parts. It was not originally an RT or anything too spectacular. It was a 383 car, but that 383 is long gone, and pretty much everything's been upgraded in the driveline. We'll get into that, but what else? Should we start just from the front, start at the engine?
Let's go tip to tail like we always do. There's not too much up here. This is the original grille and the Hideaway headlights. It's still got the original headlights. Actually, that's a question that we want to ask you guys. Do we want to keep the original headlights? And Jeremy will cut to some stock footage here of those headlights. And the tail lights, everything's all, what do we call those, bulb lights?
Yeah, they're just regular, like halogen bulb lights, I guess you would call them.
So our option is to go obviously full LED, and we're thinking the whole car, right? Headlights, marker lights, tail lights.
We've pretty much done it on every giveaway car. It's just a nice upgrade, and it makes a big difference at night when you're driving. You can just really see the road in front of you, which is always nice. Yeah,
safety-wise, I think it adds a ton just in being able to see what's around you and other people being able to see you when you're slowing down or you're passing them in the passing lane with this the monstrous 500 cubic inch V8 that's under the hood. So let's jump right into that. Let's get under the hood to the heart of the beast, as you would say.
All right. Let's get into the stable where we keep the horses here. So yeah, like you said, this has been upgraded. This is not the original 383. This is a 440 block, period correct, 440, but it's been bored and stroked to 500 cubic inches. It's got aluminum cylinder heads, Edelbrock aluminum intake manifold, topped with a FiTech unit. That's our go-to for fuel injection, so it makes this thing super drivable. A few upgrades we did to it while we've had it is a CVF front accessory drive, which gets you like a serpentine setup, a high volume water pump, a 130 amp alternator, which is good for a lot of the electronics we've added. Some of those are the AC system, so it's got a modern Sandin AC compressor. That's part of the serpentine setup as well. We went to dual electric fans on it, and this thing has a GM Type 2 power steering pump, which is like a more modern pump, and it works perfectly with the rack and pinion. This thing's also been upgraded in the steering department with a rack and pinion. So power brakes, headers. It's got the nice classic Mopar Performance dress-up kit. Like I said, the FiTech unit with the mini surge tank, vintage air stuff with the pre-bent lines, and it's just got a lot of goodies.
This thing has a pretty aggressive cam in it too, right?
Yeah, it's got a decent little cam. We dynoed this, and it's 500 horsepower at the crank. So we'll release a dyno video probably pretty soon here, but it's no slouch. You know, it's a big cubic inch engine. I mean, 500 cubic inches is just all of it. You know, it's like over 8 liters, I think, if you can think of it that way. But
wow,
in America, cubic inches over 500.
No replacement for displacement.
That's it, man. And you got a big car, a big block, I mean, you want big cubic inches, so that's
big
what
power.
you got.
And it looks great in this engine bay. I mean, I think that, you know, they designed this car for, you know, a big block V8.
That's right.
And it just, you know, looks really nice in here. Everything's nicely plumbed. You see the FiTech control units tucked back there. And it looks like we actually have a working reservoir for the, are those the sprayers for the windshield wipers?
Yeah, so this car, like we talked about with the classic vibe of this car, it still has a lot of that classic feel under the hood too. And little things like, you know, the washer reservoir with the sprayer pump. It's got a stock wiper motor. It's got an upgraded wiring harness, but factory style. And then the battery is still up here up front. You know, it's not moved to the trunk like we do in a lot of the cars. But it all looks correct. It's clean. So it's still got a classic look, but all the modern upgrades. So it's just how we like it.
It looks fantastic, and it sure does go when you stomp on that right pedal. Now, what do we have putting this power down?
So back behind the engine, this is connected to a TCI built 727 3-speed transmission.
TorqueFlite, right?
Yeah, TorqueFlite, super strong transmission. This thing makes a ton of torque. When you get into some of the overdrive transmissions, they're a little more fragile. This thing is bulletproof. This thing is built, it's got a torque converter, all the internals are beefed up, and that goes back to the legendary Mopar 8 3/4 rear end. This thing's got about a 355 gear. So even though you got a 3-speed, this thing still cruises down the highway. It's not like at real high RPM like you get sometimes without the overdrive. But I really like the way this combo drives. I mean, it's got the right gear ratio. It's all set up for this car. I mean, the TorqueFlite is just a legendary Mopar transmission. You know, why steer away from it?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's it. That's it.
And so it's an automatic, obviously. And so for a lot of people out there, that just kind of makes it a little bit more accessible.
Yeah.
And drivable. You know, you don't have to worry about, hey, am I going to, you know, worry about traffic on big hills today on my commute or anything like that.
We go back and forth between the automatics and the stick shifts. Everyone has their preference. The last Charger we did was a stick shift.
Yeah.
And it was rowdy, but it was like kind of a handful sometimes. I had the big block.
Definitely a shock to the system. How about we say that?
It was just a very visceral manual car. This thing is a little more refined, you know. So with the power steering, the power brakes, the automatic, it's a little more comfortable of a cruiser.
Still 500 horsepower.
Yeah, it's still rowdy. You know, I don't want to take anything away from it, but it's tameable, I guess you would say.
So we've covered the power plant and obviously the fact that this thing's an amazing 1969 Dodge Charger, but notoriously these things came out of the factory, and I've driven some that are stock, and there's just, you know, getting on a freeway on-ramp or something, the body roll is always a big concern with these, you know, huge old school cars. And so to combat that, this thing's got all new suspension parts, yeah?
Right, yeah, so just keeping with the trend of modernizing it, these were, you know, I hate to say it, but they were ill-handling cars from the factory. They were not designed for a sporty ride. They went in a straight line good, but pretty much all the factory stuff is gone off this car. This has a full Hotchkis sport suspension, which includes sway bars, tubular arms, Fox shocks. It has subframe connectors, so it really tightens the chassis up so you can use that suspension. And so that just changes the whole feel of this car when you're driving it. It's not too stiff, it's not like a full race suspension, but it's their sport suspension. And it's just something that all these Mopars could benefit from. It's just a good upgrade on the suspension. So that really helps out with the, you know, just having a well-rounded car that just kind of does everything better.
Yeah, you just want to be able to jump in and drive. I mean, at the end of the day, drivability is what we're after with most of these. I mean, sometimes we get a little extreme, but drivability is really the key. Just being able to jump in it, throw your kids in the back, turn the key, you know, drive where you want to go, whether that's work, school, you know, car show, whatever. What are we running for a wheel tire setup?
So these are Rocket Racing wheels. This is like a flow-formed aluminum wheel. It's a good fitment for Dodges, so it's just a no-brainer as far as upgrading the wheels. And now we got 18-inch wheels, which opens up your tire selection. So we have Nitto tires on all four corners, and that just gives you, you know, a more compliant road feel. We don't always want to go with like the tiniest sidewall. So although these cars can tuck a 20-inch wheel, I like the look of the 18. It's a big car, so they don't look too oversized on this car.
How wide are we running? Is this staggered?
Yeah, it is staggered. Off the top of my head, I'm gonna have to look at them, honestly.
235?
So these are 255s up front, and I believe we have a 295 in the back. Let me verify that, but 295 40s in the front. So yes.
255, 295?
Yep. Yeah, so staggered fitment, wider in the back. It's a big car, so even though this is a pretty wide tire, it just looks at home on this car. Behind that, our go-to braking setup. We mentioned in the engine bay, it has power brakes, and that master cylinder is going to good old Wilwood disc brakes. These are drilled and slotted. This is a 13-inch rotor in the front with a 6-piston caliper. So big car, big power, big brakes.
Big brakes, yeah, the stopping power is key. And again, that just goes to the drivability, safety of the car. Want to go fast, got to stop fast.
That's it.
So yeah, Wilwood's our go-to there.
Same in the back too, Wilwood disc brakes in the back as well.
Yep, and they look great. They're just kind of hidden back there. And then we got the original trim pieces around the wheel well, which I think looks great on this. You know, the chrome slash, you know, brushed aluminum. What would we call those wheels? Those aren't, that's not chrome.
Yeah, it's a brushed aluminum look so that it's not so shiny in your face. I mean, the car with all the chrome trim, we didn't change anything as far as the exterior. You know, the last Charger we did was very modified on the exterior and it had a whole different vibe than this car. This is more of a classy car. This is like the gentleman's Charger, you know? The
gentleman's Charger, I like that. That might be what we call the color.
Okay, I like that.
Gentleman's green.
So speaking of that, let's talk about the interior. This is where you're gonna spend all your time.
It just goes on with that drivability. I mean, it's just a really comfortable interior, but it still looks really classic. Like that center console looks original to me. I mean, it's got that 70s kind of, you know, wood paneling to it.
Yeah, so the car had these Pro Car seats, which is a good upgrade. Still classic look, but you get a headrest, which is nice for safety. And then you get some side bolstering. So when you're putting that new suspension to work, you're not gonna be sliding around the car. The original seats on these are notorious for just not being super supportive.
There's no bolstering, it's just flat, just slide around.
Yeah, you're just slip and sliding in there. And then we upgraded to a wood grain steering wheel to match the center console. And it just goes good with the green. I think the wood grain's a good accent.
Wait, we gotta give it the Jay Leno horn test.
Yeah. Yeah, horn works on that new wood grain wheel, so.
Here's the wood grain wheel. Let's give it the Jay Leno test. It works.
We have white face gauges, Kenwood stereo, vintage air controls that integrate. They have their own control panel that bolts right into where the factory one went.
It looks factory.
Yeah, it all looks pretty clean and period correct, but it's all upgraded. And then we have the FiTech control unit mounted in there so you can keep a good eye on all your vital signs on the engine.
That also lets you do some tuning if you're into that, right? I mean, you can change the air-fuel ratios, things like that.
You can play with it a little bit. And then what else? 3-point seat belts, that's a good upgrade. They didn't have those. I think they were optional in 69, but these are retractable. So it's just a more modern feel. You get in the car, you're safer. It still has a classic vibe. You're not gonna really think you're in a modern car in this thing. You still know you're in a classic.
It looks really classic, and then you see the little touches like, you know, you're able to pair your phone on Bluetooth, take a call if you need to. You got the hands-free option. It's obviously an automatic, and you're sitting in those great Pro Car by Scat seats. I mean, it's just super comfortable. Like you said, a gentleman's cruiser type car.
Yeah.
But you can still mash that right pedal when you need to.
It's got a rockin' stereo too. We hardly ever hear it because we're listening to that. I mean, it's got a full stainless exhaust with Magnaflow mufflers. That's usually what I'm listening to when I'm driving this car. That's what I want to hear.
People always ask though, so it's important to mention, it does have you know, an MP3 Bluetooth modern stereo deck. You can pair your phone, take your calls, play your tunes.
Right.
Whatever you want to do. I like to listen to the Magnaflow stereo, that 500 cubic inch V8.
Got a V8 soundtrack.
So moving on, it's obviously got these classic Charger lines. This is, you know, I've covered it in a lot of build sheets at this point.
Yep.
These flying buttresses. My favorite angle is in the back with the flying buttresses. The flying buttresses in the back. The flying buttresses in the back. The flying buttresses on the back.
I like big butts and I cannot lie.
Because I still think this is, you know, it's the best shape to me in American muscle car, you know, history. The whole thing. This is my favorite. It's often imitated. You know, GM did some of those in 67. I think 66 too.
Yeah.
But these ones to me, just with how long they are, right? They're just so exaggerated out. It's such a great curve. It's such a great line. And then of course on the driver's side, they put this huge gas cap on here, which is just such an iconic
That's one of my
Charger
favorite
thing.
parts. I mean, it's just a neat little touch that they put. There's like, you know, a lot of design elements were coming from like planes and stuff. We were doing some really cool stuff in 69. I think 69 is when we landed on the moon.
Absolutely.
So anything that was like rocket inspired or whatever.
11.
Yeah, so it was just really neat to see a cool fuel cap. You know, you don't get that much thought and design put into a fuel cap on a modern car. So it's like, if you're gonna have it right on the quarter panel, make it look badass like that.
That thing does look badass. I love that. And then obviously the tail end of this car is so iconic. Really, one of the things they changed a lot between the 3 years of this generation Charger, between 68, 69, and 70. Obviously, the front grille changes a lot with the 70. And this one, the 69 is pretty similar to the 70, but there's a couple things, and this is all original, right? They just painted the plate gray.
Yep. So this just has like a, I don't know, it's like a darker, like argent gray accent on the tail panel, which is nice. You know, it offsets. It ties in the contrast between the red taillights and the green paint. So that's really nice. It had that on it when we bought the car. And then just stock chrome bumpers, bumper guards. Yeah, the iconic taillights, like you said, they changed them year to year. 69's a really good one. Like you mentioned before, should we upgrade these? Should we put the LEDs?
Yeah, we did those. What was the name of that brand that did the sequential?
Digitails.
Digitails, that's right.
So those look really cool, but you know, we're kind of up in the air. Yeah, it changes it. It makes it look really modern. It's such a classic looking car. Do you guys mind seeing the classic taillights? Do you want that full sequential setup?
We'll leave it up to you guys. Leave a comment,
or
I think we're gonna post a poll. So, you know, stay tuned for that and let us know what you think. You guys, you know, one of you is gonna end up winning and driving this car, so you should have a say in what it looks like when it leaves the shop. So we'll leave that one up to you guys. All right, guys, so that is it. The build sheet on RM21. We are happy to sit here and go through this because that's what we really enjoy doing. As you guys know, at RestoMods.com, we only give away the best restored and modified classics in the entire world. Like we said, this is number 21. We've made 20 people's dreams come true. I can't wait to meet our 21st winner, and it could be you, but you've got to claim those entries at RestoMods.com. For a limited time, we'll be giving this away. Get entered to win, and we could be flying you here to San Diego to grab the keys to this 69 Charger.